We are in the discussion of AWS Solutions Architect, and today we are going to start a new topic called Cloud Formation Templates in AWS. Actually, we've been talking about few different topics already. So we have been talking about availability zones, regions, how the services are linked to these availability zones and regions, and then we sort of discussed about the VPC, and also we discussed about some of the IAM features. Because how I'm thinking to discuss few of the question formats coming into AWS exam. So I was thinking to complete this topic and then started discussing some of the questions coming in solutions architect exam, and so then we can see some combined questions, like we can look into combined questions of regions, availability zones, and we did also fault tolerance, high availability, disaster recovery, and I'm going to talk about more about EC2 instances, uh, and then we can sort of combine all these services, and we can look into some of the questions how they forms together to understand AWS resilience architecture, right? All right, so today we're going to talk about the cloud formation template. I'm going to talk about Terraform as well. So each of them got their own sort of advantages as well. Terraform. So today we're going to discuss the cloud formation templates, right? All right. So let's have a look how the evaluation of infrastructure management, right? So this is infrastructure as code, but the journey manual to automated. So infrastructure management has transformed from traditional manual process to intelligent automation, right? Then they are now, right? We've been in a sort of a traditional manual era, right? Remember when we started with the computer in the 90s? So most of our infrastructure were based on premises, and we buy physical hardware, and then we put them together, and then we install drivers, we install software, and then we doing configuration and get them up and running. So that is a traditional manual era, is a physical server procurement, right? So we've been handling with a lot of hardware and then software, and we set up server rooms, network racks, and then we install. We got a initial. I remember a long time ago, the operating systems revolution, like come up with the uh, floppy disk, and then came up with the CD-ROMs, and then DVDs, and now we downloading them from internet. So then we have to do manual OS installation, and then we have to configure software on top of that, right? And actually, it's a beautiful era, right? We had the sort of experience in that, right? Now the modern era come up with the infrastructure as a code. So you providing a cloud native provisioning, right? Provisioning, sorry, consistent and repeatable deployment, right? So today, if you're logging into one of these cloud like um, Azure, right, and then AWS or Google cloud platform, so we can get up and running one of these servers with the OS, any OS like Linux, Windows, or anything in a few minutes time. If we had been developing and managing so many machines, if you're looking into my previous video, I did some Azure networking as well as some of these labs related to hybrid home labs. So you could see how easy we deploy the services like with the servers, right? Within a minute, right? We can deploy the servers. We don't know. We don't care about installing operating systems, right? And we don't care about what is the underlying hardware. No idea, right? But we can configure whatever we've been doing in a physical environment, in a virtual environment there, right? So let's have a quick look how this infrastructure evaluation timeline from 1990s to 2020. So remember the dedicated hardware for each application, manual server management and deployment. So in about 90s, so that is the age where we had physical server dominance, right? Physical server dominance. So we 95, remember Windows sort of 95, 98. Don't remember exactly, but that time era was a physical server dominance. So we have to get hardware and then we install machines and then connect it into network and we compare. So we had mail servers, web servers, right? And so many different things are in our premises, right? On premises. And then around 2005, so virtualization adoption. So that's a major vendors like VMware and Hyper-V, right? Enable multiple VMS running in a physical machine. So initially, the one physical machine is running one single operating system, and then later 2005, we've been running multiple virtual machines, right? Sharing the resources in one single machine with memory and the resources like you get a huge memory and plus a huge CPU power, and then we run a few virtual machines. You remember VMware and Hyper-V, like failover clusters. We've been using them, right? And then sort of about 2009, 2010 times, AWS, Azure, and Google Cloud Platform launch on-demand scalable infrastructure. So it started moving a lot of them into cloud computing, right? Cloud computing majors, right? So it started moving into cloud computing, right? They started offering different of services like virtual machines as a infrastructure as a service, and then coding as well, right? And then 2015, right? So Terraform and Ansible adoption, right? Automated version controlled infrastructure. So That is where they started more services going with the infrastructure as a code, right? And now it's coming to 2020 like a JIT driven infrastructure management, continuous deployment and monitoring, right? We use GitHub and all other facilities to apply these, apply, use the codes to create resources, right? Okay, so let's go into next slide and have a look what you have. So AWS Cloud Formation explained. So we'll have a look what is cloud formation. So cloud formation is a powerful infrastructure as a code IAC, right? Service that allows you to model and provision AWS resources in a predictable and a repeatable way, right? So this is like a sort of a cloning, right? So once you created one template, you can create the similar resources, right? And let's see an example. If you create a one server and so get ready in a on premises like a physical server, right? Uh, how much effort you have to do to get another server with the same configuration get up and running. But these codes make you easy to make these same services get up and running within a minute, right? So CloudFormation is an AWS service that help you define AWS infrastructure in code using template. I remember a few of my previous videos, we created a, template, easy to templates, right? And then we created a auto scaling group, load balancer using this template. So you can create the same resources with ease if you use a template. I remember I've been explaining you can even do modification time to time to get these templates updated according to the compliance and sort of changes coming into the scene, right? So, so the first one is a define the code formation is so define AWS infrastructure in code using templates and then automate resource provisioning, right? And then they help you to manage dependencies between resources. And then you can do update and replicate infrastructure stacks consistently across the platform, right? All right. In this case, in a cloud formation, just need to understand some key component like every topic. I usually explain you the key component involved with this one because when we're talking about that, you need to have a proper understanding of what is that component is about, right? So key component of cloud formation is the first one is the templates, right? As we create like EC2 templates, right? You need to create a JSON or YAML files that describe your AWS resources and their configuration. Let's think about you need to create a and like a few different EC2 instance and S3 bucket or something. So you just need to create a JSON or YAML file that describe your AWS resources and their configurations, right? And then that will be called templates, so which we use to create resources. Then we call stacks. What are the stacks? Stacks are the collection of AWS resources created when you deploy a template. So let's say you create a template called template one, and when you apply those templates, after applying the template, so you will get some of the resources created in AWS cloud. So we call them stacks. Stacks are the resources created when you deploy a templates, right? And then I got a change sets preview of proposed changes before updating a stack. So once you are trying to update some changes into a stack which is created previously using a template, so we call it a change set. It's a preview, right? Preview proposed changes before updating a stack. That's before applying, right? And then stack sets. Stack sets is manage stacks across multiple AWS accounts and regions. So stack sets mean you apply one set in this region, right? Let's say US East, and then let's say you got a branch of your company in Europe or somewhere in Asia. So you will apply another uh, that's maybe same template in another region. So we call them as stack sets. So manage stack across multiple AWS accounts and regions. So either you can apply them in your different account or you can apply them in a region, right? So let's see how these templates work now, right? So how cloud formation works, right? So you create a template describing you decide your AWS resources. So first you create template. So you include there what you want. Let's say you want to create some EC2 instances, their database, and maybe you want to create another some few other resources. So they are in your template describing what you want to create, right? The resources, and then cloud formation provisions and configure those resources for you, right? And then the service automatically handle dependencies and order of operations. So how do you create it? What way it's created? Order of operations. So first you need to create a VPC and then you create a EC2 instance and then you apply some of the network and then you use or if you want to use beforehand, maybe you need a elastic IP so the order and dependencies will be handled by these templates, right? You can update or delete the entire stack as a single unit. So good benefits of this one is like, let's say you want to do some testing, right? You want to check something. Let's say you're creating some of the resources, right? And maybe you have a sort of a file account, or maybe you have a sort of a sandbox. Sandbox is all right because sandbox they will automatically delete whatever the resources created. But let's say you have a trial account with your credit card in there, and you need to make sure you do every resource whatever you have created you want to delete after the uh, after when you're testing, right? Let's say thinking if you want to create one by one, you might miss one or two resources, and they might be without your knowing. When the time goes, they might charge you to your credit card because these resources are still running. But if you create this like a cloud formation template, so what you can do is you can one shot you can delete whatever the whole resources you created using that template. That's one of the good advantage. So thinking if you're using this one, see, it's a good idea if you're doing the same set as testing with the same sort of resources a few times, right? And it's a good idea. You can create a formation template, and you can use that one. That will give you a peace of mind. You can delete that at the end of the testing to make sure you not get charged for the trial account. All right. So let's have a look at some of the benefits uh, um, you using a cloud template. So infrastructure as a code. So version control your infrastructure. You can keep some version, automation, eliminate manual provisioning process. So you don't remember how many resources you have to create. So EC2 instance, Elastic IP, and then you have to create a VPC. So this will, once you created a proper template, so it will create all the resources for you. You don't forget anything. So it will control all the dependencies and order of operations. So consistency, ensure identical environment. So if you want to apply one region set of resources, then you need to apply the same set of them in a different region, maybe a disaster recovery, or I don't know, maybe a high availability or fault tolerance. So you can use the same sort of a similar environment, identical. So that's called consistency. So dependency management, automatic handling of resource relationships. So it will handle, as I said, the dependency cost management, easily track resources by stack, rollback capabilities. Also, you need to keep in mind you can do it will automatic rollback on failures. So when you're creating sort of, let's say you're creating 10 resources and one or two resources are failed, so it can roll back to make sure it will delete all the resources that are created up to that point to make sure you not get charged or something. So you don't need to go by like a headache, getting a headache, go back and delete the resources created by this process. You don't know how many created. I mean, you can go automatic rollback on failure. That's a good feature as well, right? Right. Let's look into what sort of template structure you have here. We're going to discuss more into we deep into them when we go further. But let's quick have a look the basic cloud formation templates in these sections. This gives you YAML templates. They're really sort of human readable format, not difficult, right? So the first one is a format version. Version is there, and then we can have a description to identify what sort of template this one. So my sample template. So we can see my head office template, my branch template, something like that, and then just have to define resources. So my EC2 instance, so AWS EC2 instance, and then you get property. What image and missing image ID? So that can be different to from region to region. Regionally, so then you can come instant type. So common use cases, so it's standardized environment provision, right? So that's what I explained to you. So if you want to create the same environment for testing few times, create, delete. So this is easy because once you create it, and once you delete, it will delete all the resources. So then you can do disaster recovery setup. If you have a running setup, so you get up and running, and then you can have a disaster recovery setup. You can use another region, right? And then as I explained, you can have a multi-region deployment. When you're deploying multi-region, just need to change few things in some of the templates because the some machine IDs and maybe some resources are a little bit different in the running in a different region, but it's not a big deal. I mean, yeah, compliance and governance enforcement. So you can create compliance and governance enforcement and then automated scaling solution, right? Cloud formation is particularly valuable for organizations that need to manage complex AWS environment that require repeatable deployment process. So when organization needed a repeatable environment, that should be good. Like let's say you putting might be a retail industry. You're putting maybe not sure this is going to be exactly matching, but I can tell you, like if you have let's say you got a retail outlet environment, maybe you're putting more retail outlet in every few months, and each environment is similar, and then you can replicate one of the template in that environment when it come to a different region who sort of you need to have a different sort of set of similar machines or similar environment running into each outlet. So that's one of the example I could tell you, right? So we explain what is the cloud formation. So cloud formation is a service that helps you to model and set up your AWS resources automatically. It allows you to spend less time in managing resources and more time focusing in your applications. So see that. So this whole infrastructure is created in here as well, right? Also replicated. Just example, right? So we had a look how it work, create a template describing all desired resources, and then cloud formation provisions configure these resources. No need to create and configure resources individually, right? So you create template, right? And then you process that template, right? Validate resources, and the resources being created, right? So it's called a stack created successful. And then if you use this stack in other region, we call the stack sets, this one and that one, right? So this is a single stack, like using this template, the resources create, we call it stack, right? So just gives you an idea of this one, right? So each organization level, so here, small to enterprise level of organization. And so how difficult is if you use in manual configuration on each organization level, and how easy if you use cloud formation to uh, generate stacks, right? So how easy an enterprise level see that? That is more than 70 here. This is like 6, less than 10. So it's going to be very easy. Even in a small case, it's better, right? So this cloud formation is as a part of infrastructure as a code. So I think I explained in AWS and customer responsibility uh, in one of the previous video that I explain what are the different responsibilities and how much responsibility divide between customer and AWS. So I'll explain infrastructure as a code, and then secondly, we explain some sort of software as a service and all other things, right? So this cloud formation is goes to IAC infrastructure as a code, right? So IAC infrastructure as a code is a process of managing and provisioning computing infrastructure through machine readable definition files rather than manual processing, right? Treat infrastructure configuration as software code, enable automated, repeatable deployment, reduce human error, and improve consistency, right? And the infrastructure as code says two primary approaches to implement IAC. First one is a push method, system controlling configuration, send the instruction to directly to servers, right? And then pull method is servers retrieve their instructions from the controlling system, right? So that's called push and pull method, right? This gives you a sort of a code flow. infrastructure as a code flow. How does this work, right? So this is main tier, variable tier, then here it use Terraform engine, and then apply and deploy, right? So this is sort of a process going in there, right? Now we'll have a look what some sort of benefits quickly in infrastructure as a code. So automate repetitive tasks, allowing team to focus on application deployment, right? Development, consistency. So you have a scalability and you can do version control. It is a sort of features you can have in a template, right? I think I'm going to stop in this point because it's already about 30 minutes, nearly 30 minutes. And next video, what we're going to discuss, so we're going to discuss about templates, format of templates, and further discussing of cloud formation techniques and how we're going to use cloud formation. All right. I think this is for today's video, and we'll see you guys from next video. Until then, thank you very much.